Welcome back. You're watching Startup Central with me, Nandana Rai, working from home. Now, Kunal Bell knows a lot about entrepreneurship. He also knows a lot about investing. He has invested in 120 plus startups via Titan Capital. And of course, he knows all there is to know about entrepreneurship. He saved Snapdeal literally from the jaws of death. So, Kunal Bell today wrote something on LinkedIn saying he's asked very often the same question, which is how to raise angel investment. So he put together all his thoughts on his LinkedIn profile. We're taking some excerpts out of that and sharing Kunal Bell's pearls of wisdom right here on this edition of Startup Central. So first he says that the level of tenacity, number orientation, chemistry, storytelling skills are among the key factors that angel investors look for in their founders. And whatever happens, the first 5 minutes are absolutely critical. They've set the stage, and a lot of decisions are already made by angel investors in the first 5 minutes. He goes on to say that at the stage that angel investors invest, there is often no product. In most occasions, you're still at the PowerPoint presentation stage. So it's very important to have all the information and data on your fingertips. So, it could be data on the addressable market, it could be the size of the market, how pressing is a problem that you're trying to solve with your startup, an understanding of future unit economics, including on determining if margins and variable costs will create a viable business, laying out a medium to long-term business roadmap. So that's what it starts off with. Then his other piece of advice for all of you looking for angel rounds and angel investors, Kunal Bell stresses that it's important for founders to also question angel investors on what worked and what will not work, what worked in the past, what did not work. Mistakes, past learnings. As an angel investor, he says, don't compete with VCs. The check size is modest, and don't believe in telling entrepreneurs how to run their company. While exiting a business, angel investors think of investing activities as a business and not a fund, and never put themselves in a position of having to say no to providing capital. So that's pearls of wisdom coming in from Kunal Bell. Now, while we're talking about angel investments, it brings us to the next discussion that we're going to be having on the show. It's a very important clarification which actually has come in to Let's Venture. Let's Venture is one of the biggest angel fund platforms that you have out there. It has raised 1,174 crore rupees across 290 plus rounds. It has 6,500 plus angel investors from 52 countries. Its backers also include Ratan Tata, Rishad Premji, and Nandan Nilekani. So what is this important clarification that's come in from the market regulator? On September 17th, the market regulator, in a clarification to Let's Venture, has virtually banned blind pooling of capital. So what basically used to happen, the investors, all their funds would be blindly pooled, and what SEBI says is that capital cannot be used for investments unless every angel investor gives a consent to the lead angel investor, the lead of the syndicate. How feasible is that? Like for example, I just told you, Let's Venture has raised money from 6,500 plus angel investors across 52 countries. So joining me to talk about this is from Let's Venture, Sunita KR. We're also being joined by senior entrepreneur, and you see him very often on this show, Mr. K. Ganesh. Thank you so much for joining us. I know this is a burning issue, the SEBI clarification which has come in. Sunita, I'll come to you first because it was based on your query that the clarification has come in. What is this going to mean for angel investment funds? You took capital from HNIs, pulled it together, and decided this is a good startup to invest in. Is it even feasible to get everyone's consent?
Thank you so much, Nayatara, for getting me on the show, first of all. From a perspective of angel investing, right? To just take a step back, today you see that there are multiple kinds of funds which SEBI has actually allowed for. Angel fund is just a subcategory of the Cat 1 AIF. What this does is basically allow you a structure to make your investments. It does not take away your right to be actually to say yes or a no to a startup, right? So while keeping that spirit in mind, I think even though angel investing is a social activity per se, I think this does allow investors to know what they're getting into, right? And not just make a commit because somebody else is saying so, right? It's just still keeping the same concept and spirit of what angel investing is and taking it further from there. So this whole thing is just a clarificatory note from SEBI from what they're already provided it as a regulation a couple of years ago to us.
So it's just a clarification which is coming in. So Mr. K. Ganesh, does that mean it's not going to hurt angel investments in the country?
No, absolutely, it's not going to hurt angel investments in the country. Fortunately, Indian entrepreneurial ecosystem has seen development of multiple institutions, including syndicates, angel funds, platforms like Let's Venture. All of that has proliferated to the betterment of the ecosystem there. One of the things that has always been challenging in the Indian laws, whether it's the vexatious angel tax or various things, has been lack of clarity and ambiguity in interpretation, and people retrospectively interpreting the rules and regulations. All of that has been a major thorn in the development of the ecosystem and also for investment. Such clarification, very clear-cut query from Let's Venture to SEBI and SEBI clarifying actually helps. This is not in no way going to hurt. I think the fact is angel investment is highly risky. It is one of the riskiest asset classes. People get carried away by the glamour and the media and the front page and the valuations and unicorns and flock into it, which is fine from an entrepreneur's point of view. It gets more money into the system, but it is dangerous. In US, you have a concept of an accredited investor. Okay, right? That means people who have the ability. Even here, for angel investors, they have specified what kind of people who have got 10 years managerial experience, CEO experience, and all that. All that is good. This clarifications puts it to that you cannot have blind pooling of capital. You cannot just have one lead investor leading the round, therefore other people can blindly follow. It says that each and every one, even though you might have given consent earlier in general, as per the agreement signed, for every specific deal, you need to say a specific yes. So this is cautionary. It will not really slow down. Anyway, all these things take time. Therefore, going to your bunch of angels and get a specific yes for every deal is an extremely welcome move. More importantly, from my point of view, I have seen this thing evolving. Clarity, even if it is not good, it's better than no clarity at all. And we have seen that in the past. Therefore, I welcome this move. It will not hurt in any way. And more such clarifications.
Okay.
Welcome.
Okay. That's Mr. K. Ganesh explaining it also amazingly well out there. Now, Sunita, this clarification came to you guys. You must have raised some kind of a query. You're saying it's an important clarification for a policy which was already out there. So after this important clarification, for which I don't know what you sought it for, but this important clarification, can you tell us how things will change at platforms and at platforms like Let's Venture? Are you now going to perhaps you'll have no choice but to maybe ask those 3-4 HNIs that is this okay for us to invest in this startup? Is that how it's going to work?
But actually, from day one, Let's Venture has followed this process, right, of asking consent for every transaction while giving all the details to the investor before he says, hey, I'm ready to go ahead and actually do the consent and then the transfer, right? Now, why we sought the clarification, I might just kind of add there. While I mentioned the whole concept of investing has been a social activity, right? Which also meant, like Ganesh said, there are people who actually say, hey, you know what, Ganesh is a great investor. I will just back everything that he does, right? Is that possible? I've given him a contractual agreement to say he will actually be consenting on my behalf. Is that possible? So that was one of the things which is why we actually went to SEBI to say that if there is a an agreement between two investors, is it possible that only one actually consents, right? That was why we actually went out. But for us, this doesn't change anything. We have been following the same from day one. Like Ganesh mentioned, there is a timeline for closure as well. But I think we've been able to do it so far. We've done over 100 transactions.
Running out of time, so let me just Sunita, if you would allow me to please interject. Sunita, if you would please allow me to interject there, just to understand, and we're running out of time, so I'll have to make it quick and request the same from you. So, you had one consent, you didn't have from the others. I understand you're a very large organization. Like I said, look at the kind of money you've raised from so many different HNIs and, across 52 countries and all of that. You didn't want to go back to your syndicate and ask others if they were okay with the approval?
No, every investor was always approving, is what I'm saying, Nayantara. This was where we actually sought clarification to say, is it possible that if there was a contractual agreement for us to do it differently, right? Or from day one, we have been taking consents from every investor for a particular investment.
Okay. I'd like to thank both my guests for joining us here for this very important issue. So you've heard it from Let's Venture itself on the important clarification which has come in from the market regulator. You're also hearing from serial entrepreneur K. Ganesh on how this clarification is so very important and that it's going to have absolutely no impact on angel investments. If all of you have been reading this story, following this story and worried, worry not. We're going to take a short commercial break, but stay tuned. On the other side, festive season is almost here. So we talk about e-commerce. What are logistic players like Blue Dart planning for startups as well as e-commerce at large? Stay tuned.